Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beginnings, the show that asks, where do creative people come from? My name is Andy. I'm the host of the show and a writer and performer based in Los Angeles, California. And how is everyone out there doing this week? Are you feeling good? If you are feeling good, please tell me, what is the dose of Prozac that you're on? Is it 1 million milligrams or 12 million milligrams? Please let me know. Haha, we have fun here, don't we? I was listening to a podcast this week where two of the guests were researchers into transnational crime syndicates and the connections between governments and intelligence agencies and all the stuff that we all kind of knew, and there were little bits and pieces that kind of poked through into the real world in the past, but then with the release of the Epstein files was kind of laid bare in front of our eyes. And even though there were the things like the Panama Papers and the Pandora Papers, you know, finally you got to see the evil depravity kind of like there in their own writing. They got to be the authors of their own unhinged malevolence. Anyway, the host asked them, you know, what can we possibly do in this moment? And they talked a lot about, you know, working on the local level. That's where a lot of the change is going to happen. But that just, it happens to be that there are these rhythms in history, and sometimes you just live in an evil era, and there's not a whole lot you can do individually. Obviously, the goal is to build a mass movement that can change things, but just sometimes there are just periods where there isn't a mass movement at that moment, and while you're building it, you just kind of have to live in the evil. I found it so reassuring. And by reassuring, of course, what I mean is depressing. Anyway, folks, do the work on the local level. And I'm on the level when I tell you that today's episode is the absolute opposite of depressing. It is joy. Yes, today I'm talking to Julia Steiner of Ratboys, and it was an absolute pleasure to talk to her. And if you don't know who Julia is, I'm going to read you her bio right now. Originally from Louisville, Kentucky, musician Julia Steiner started Ratboys in college at Notre Dame with Dave Sagan. In 2015, they relocated to Chicago and released their first album, AOID, on Top Shelf Records. And since then, the band has accomplished everything you want to happen to a good band: international tours, critical and commercial success, and releasing numerous albums and EPs of great music. Their latest, Singin' to an Empty Chair, was just released in early February. And folks, it's fantastic. On constant play in my, I was about to say household. Naomi and I do not listen to the same music. So I will amend that to say on constant play in my office here, just listening to it over and over. And I was so glad to talk to Julia, and she is so cool. We were on the same wavelength. We talk all about obsessions, empathy, her talent show that she performed in when she was young, so much other stuff. It was just a delightful hour. I'm so glad we got to hang out and talk, and I hope you like this episode. Coming up on the show, a lot of cool people. Talk to John Flansburgh of They Might Be Giants. Talk to Connor Armbruster, whose new album is fantastic. Just talked to John McIntyre today from Tortoise and Gastro del Sol, and like a million other amazing projects. Fantastic producer and engineer, wonderful drummer and musician. So stay tuned for those episodes. But for now, let's talk to Julia. Is absolutely has nothing to do with anything except for how I spent my evening last night. So I'll ask you this question. Are you an obsessive person at all?
Yes, about some things. I am not like an addictive personality by any means, but I do kind of once I get a hold of a thought, I need to kind of follow through on it, or else I will lose it a little bit.
What is the criteria that has to catch you for it to become something obsessive that you do or think about?
Oh, God, the worst things, like often how I feel like I'm being perceived.
Oh,
I get really obsessive about the minutia of my text messages, and then when I go back to edit them, sometimes I get nervous that people are going to notice that I've been editing the comma in the third line 3 times. And then I get nervous that they're going to judge me for that. And I feel self-conscious. You know what I mean? It's more of an anxiety spiral than an obsession, but yeah, I am very in the weeds as far as like uh, accurately communicating the tone of my thoughts via like DMs and Instagram. I can labor over a caption on a photo for an afternoon,
sister.
Yeah.
I've talked about this a lot recently just because in the wake of the Epstein emails, which
Oh, he is a psycho emailer.
well, yes, and the ruling elite. So this is my thought, which is that the reason why the ruling elite is so into AI is because they are functionally illiterate and can't write a thing. I sit here, I'm writing my agent about something, and I'm like, okay, it's a 3-line email, and I am obsessing over like, well, let's make a joke here.
Yeah.
I want her to have fun reading this 3-line email that she probably will just like kind of like skim and then be like, okay, I have to read his script. Okay, whatever. Like I sit here and think about it for, I don't know, 20 minutes. And the freaks that run everything are like shooting off the like stuff with like 20,000 equal signs in them.
Yeah. Like commas with spaces on both sides.
Not thinking, not mattering.
Shooting from the hip.
Yeah. Why am I obsessing over that? Why are you obsessing over and I do the same thing. I sent like a text to a friend because like my fingers are too big for the fucking keyboard. I always hit the wrong things. Then I go back and I have to edit it I think this is a combination of things. And I'm going to speak for you because I feel like we're on the same page about this. I feel like the biggest thing for me is I'm respecting the recipient of my message. I want them to be able to understand me just as much as I selfishly want to be understood. I want to make this easier for them. I want this email to be, like worth reading, like worth their time, or at least I want them to feel the sense that I've thought about them in the writing of it. But also I take pride in my like command of the English language. And maybe that's puffing my chest out, but like, I did graduate from a 4-year university with a degree in English. Like, this is the one thing, God damn it, that I'm using my degree for. Like, I owe it to myself to at least like proofread my emails. So, and Jeffrey Epstein, for as evil and as, all of the shocking things that have come out in these files, which are truly like unspeakably heinous. Another, just the fucking cherry on top of this pedophile sundae is his complete disregard for grammar and the recipients of his emails. Yeah.
What a fucking sociopath.
I mean, I knew for a long time that there was a kind of parapolitical world underneath the world that we all live in. I didn't think it was so as disgusting as it has been revealed to be. I knew it was disgusting. I knew it was just filled with blood. I knew all that stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know the extent.
I know. It even seeped into the Gmail inbox.
But I think you hit upon something that I hadn't thought about, which is the respect of the person. You respect the person you are corresponding with. You respect other people. The empathy that even just like, oh, I should correct this text so that it reads okay. I think there's empathy in all of that.
Totally. And I mean, I want to connect, like I want them to feel what I'm attempting to communicate, and obviously sometimes it's easy to overthink this and, there's diminishing returns when you're laboring over the Oxford comma, but like, I don't know. It's sometimes it feels like the most important thing you got to do in that hour of your day. And, you know, there are worse things to waste your time doing. I don't know.
Yeah, there are. Well, this is the thing. Okay, this is why I started out with this, because I've been thinking about it. Last night I spent, I don't know. Do you know the song Sour Shores by Portastatic?
No.
Great song.
Okay.
Mac McCon goes into a weird time signature for the chorus of it. I was figuring out how to play it last night. And I was like, I got the chords down, but then there's like I think it's maybe 7/8. I'm not sure. And I'm not very good with time signatures.
That's a tricky one.
And I was like, because it goes from 4/4 to I think 7/8. I don't know. And there might be some other stuff in there. And I spent a long time obsessing. Now I had other stuff to do. I'm working on, I had to edit a podcast. There's a script I should have been working on. There's like I was behind on my emailing. Like there was a lot of stuff. Instead, I sat there for an hour, like listening, counting, playing on my guitar, like hitting the like.
Yeah.
Like, is that what am I?
That's practice, baby.
Well, okay. I'm not a musician. I mean, it's something I enjoyed playing.
Sounds like you are.
Well, I mean, I do make music, but it's not like my primary thing.
I get you.
But I'm curious, there's something here, and I don't know how to connect it exactly. I'm curious how it manifests in you. Okay, empathy, obsessiveness. How does this stuff work in your creative life?
I think what we're actually talking about here is rabbit holes. And
go on.
And we're talking about that little motherfucker in Alice in Wonderland with the monocle and the suit. You know what I mean? And that's like fun. You know, I think of that as a pretty magical experience, like a pretty psychedelic, like when you get that locked in on something, it feels like your whole world is right in front of you, you know? And I think that's actually like a really important thing to lean into pretty often. Like, especially in this day and age of like constant distractions, like ceaseless, like just assault from the outside, like demanding your energy and attention. I think it's actually like a really important, like radical thing to do to like turn on. Who are we kidding? You're not turning off your phone. You're putting it on Do Not Disturb or whatever. And you're saying, okay, I'm going to figure this out by like, God damn it. Like by the end of the night, and that's worth doing. Like, I think it's good that you did that. And time signatures are a fickle beast, man. You gotta figure it out. It doesn't happen all at once, so yeah. I don't know. I don't know how it really seeps into my life, except in the sense that like I get really excited when like I feel like when something presents itself like that, or when you feel the urge to lock in like that, that's how you realize like this is a very compelling, like important, cool thing you're learning about or discovering,
Yeah, I really like your vocabulary. Urge. I really like that. Yeah. Right. Compelling. I think that's the right word. When I find something compelling in whatever way,
yep,
then it becomes an emotional experience. It becomes something more than just like, oh, I'm interested in this fact or something like that. Or like, oh, this was a nice song, but like it's compelling. It pulls me along in a way that I maybe wouldn't have chosen otherwise.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I have this sensation sometimes, especially I'm thinking specifically of like Wikipedia rabbit holes, or like when I learn a historical detail that I've never known about, or like discover a person, a real person who exists or used to. It feels like this, like it just adds to like the fabric of like what and like what the world is to you, and it just adds this like little extra color, to your life, and it's not just your life. I feel like you are what you know sometimes, and that's really you can feel yourself in real time, like expanding or whatever. But
no, yeah,
I need a wiki rabbit hole at least once a week to keep me sane. So yeah, I'm all about it.
Yeah,
I am a monthly donate. I'm a monthly subscriber to Wikipedia. We got to keep it going.
I agree. Yearly in my case, but yes,
very good.
Here's the thing. Is this something you've always done? Even when you were a kid, were you someone who would go down rabbit holes? If you were compelled by something, would you be transfixed by it?
Oh, that's a really, I've never ever considered that. I feel like yes. I think going back to your question about like obsessive tendencies, I definitely like fell hard for the like art and media that I was consuming as a child. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was this is a very silly example, but I feel it. I feel it to this day. I was like obsessed with the Olsen twins growing up. I was like a child of the 90s, and they were, for as like out of the public eye as they are now, they were like so in it back then, you
I
know?
remember.
And it was awesome because I mean, I'm sure it wasn't awesome. They were like deeply traumatized by the entertainment industry, but all that to say, like they, you know, owned their own business and they like had some control over what they're making, and I hope that most of the money went to them. But anyway, they were putting out so many videos, and I was watching all of them, like everything. And I learned the words, and I like wanted to sing along, you know, so like kind of having that real like connection with something you're consuming. I totally relate to that. I have memories relating to that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have, I'm not sure if like I can't pinpoint a time that I felt that for the first time, you know? But I also fear that I'm like losing my memory. So it's good to like try to think back, you know.
You fear it, or there's evidence.
I feel like both. I mean, that's why I'm so grateful to be talking to you and do, you know, have conversations like this. Cause yeah, I mean, I feel like the less we like reminisce, the more likely it is that certain things will just like be lost to the sands of time. And like, I'll never remember, you know, the exact like details of, yeah, some like really early years and stuff. So it's good to try to
Yeah.
go back there.
Do you know what the other danger is? I want to get back to this in a second, but
Hmm.
this brings up this thing I've been thinking of a lot. If you get interviewed about your life or you do a podcast, I think about like Marin a lot because I'm like, oh, he talks about himself all the time. Or like my wife's a stand-up, she talks about herself. I talk
Yeah.
about myself on shows all the time. At some point, your past becomes calcified because you've
Yep.
told a story so many times, or you've had to answer a certain question about X, Y, or Z so many times. Like my wife and I, we've been only married for a couple years, but we've been together for 16 years.
Yeah.
And since we're both in comedy, you know, we get asked that question a lot in interviews about like, well, how did you meet? And the story just becomes a kind of pat thing
Yep.
that you're no longer interacting with, this inert bit of your past.
Yep.
And
Like a fossil.
as your past becomes calcified, you know, you're no longer really interacting with it anymore. And so it just becomes like this dead thing that trails you, like a lizard tail being torn off of the lizard.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's why it's nice to have like I don't know. I'm grateful for like photos, you know. That's not like a revolutionary idea, but when my grandpa died about a year ago, I was down in Kentucky and we were like going through old actual like physical family photos to digitize them for like a slideshow. And I uncovered, dude, this is crazy. Speaking of just leaning into something full throttle, like I discovered these photos of when I was 7 years old. I was in the talent show, second grade, and my act was just you're gonna love this. My act was just dog. I just like wore a dog mask and just like a pretty realistic dog mask and just got up on stage and just like on all fours, like barking around and like just pretending to be a dog in front of the whole school, like hundreds of kids. And so there's these photos of me from the back of the room, tiny me on the stage with hundreds of kids in the audience. And I'm just on all fours, like howling at the ceiling. And I had like completely forgotten about that. And so it was shocking to, you know, have that come full color back in my mind.
I have 100 questions. First one is when you remembered it, are you remembering just the photo? Or can you actually, like, once you were reminded of it, like the actual thought is still there in some neuron and you could transport yourself back there?
Oh, I could right now draw you like a map of my elementary school.
Okay.
Like I actually have like fantasies, and this is creepy. I like wish I could go back, and just like be invisible and just wander around the halls, because I know exactly, unless it's changed, I know exactly where everything is. I pride myself on having a good sense of direction. I remember what it was like to be in that room. Um, you know, I remember being 7 years old. Like, I remember what my friend sang at that talent show, fucking Sometimes by Britney Spears. Underrated. Britney cut. But yeah, I remember what our uniform looked like. The color of the like trim around the doors. Like I fully remembered it. And so that was exciting to like have that like touchstone, to take me back there.
Okay. Second question. Did you sign up for the talent show yourself, or did someone sign you up?
Oh, I'm sure I signed up.
So you wanted to do dog.
It was my idea. It was no one else's idea, which is why, again, shocking. Like, where did this come from? Not sure.
And did anyone try to dissuade you from dog as a talent?
Absolutely not. And I think that's one reason why I'm where I am today, is like my parents are not very like my mom's pretty artistic, but like not in a freaky way at all. Like, but they never like questioned my impulse to like, make like write songs or be a dog. Or I think I did stand up one year at the talent show, which was shocking for a child to be doing stand up at a talent show. So I felt
Who were you trying to emulate?
No clue. I don't. And actually, see, talking about like calcified memories, I really wish I could know. I feel like I might be conflating things. I feel like the stand up might have been part of the dog thing. I don't know. Because I remember the one joke I do remember from that it wasn't stand up in the sense that you're talking about yourself. It wasn't like actual stand up.
Sure.
I was just telling jokes on stage. And the one that I remember the most was what's the hardest part about skydiving?
Hitting the ground?
Yeah, the ground. I remember like delivering it like the ground, But anyway, so that was the material I was working with as a
I feel like you were
child.
wearing a tie and then you like tugged on the like Rodney Dangerfield.
I should have been. Yeah, got to recreate this.
Hey,
you heard it here
idea
first.
for a video.
Yeah.
For whatever the next video you make is.
Okay, I'll pitch this.
So, okay. I want to go back for a second to obsession, the idea of following rabbit holes, the idea of something being compelling to you.
Yeah.
Is this something that is a through line in your life, or was it something you kind of pushed away from when you became a teenager only to recapture later in your life?
I don't think I ever really had like a radical teenage phase. And just like, expanding that to like everything. Like I don't know really what comes to mind thinking about like what I was obsessed with as a teen, like I don't think I, intentionally like rebelled against any obsessive tendencies I might have had as a child. Like I was pretty even keeled. Like, again, credit to my parents. I don't really know what they did or if this is just how I am, but like I was very low key, like not, I was not super rebellious or like, attention seeking. I was very content to, write songs by myself and, listen to music. And I did become pretty, obsessed with like, discovering new music. Like that was
Sure.
a big thing in my teenage years. And at that time, this was early aughts. So it was all about iTunes library and my iPod. So I was pretty obsessive, as you can probably relate, with like organizing my iTunes library and making sure there was no duplicates and all that crap.
Making sure all the tags were correct so that when you put the album in, it loaded in the correct order.
Absolutely. And like no capitalization inconsistencies. It all had to be correct. And I think
Julia, sorry.
I'm
sorry to interrupt. But it is so oppressive, I think, to have this in our heads. Because I'm sitting there, I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that when I go into, I guess, Apple Music now, but like when I drop an album, because I buy everything on Bandcamp or from the I don't want to stream it if I haven't bought it. And
That's
unless it's the
good.
beat. I'll say this. I'll listen to the Beatles if I need to listen to the Beatles. I don't
Yeah,
think they need an
they're
extra 10
fine.
bucks. I don't think I have to buy Magical Mystery Tour.
No, they're good for it.
So okay, but like I buy the music and then I sit and then or like maybe a publicist will send me something and then it's not tagged correctly and I sit there and I make sure it's in the correct order when I load into the thing. Like it's
I know.
oppressive. I
I
shouldn't
know.
have to do that. I shouldn't feel compelled to do it.
I know. I am really grateful that you're saying all of this to me because I can relate so hard to you. Like for this new record we put out, Sing into an Empty Chair, I'm sorry, but in title case, and truly I am sorry. In the title case, the T of two and the A of Anne should be lowercase.
Yes, true.
That is how it is done. And so Marcus, our drummer slash graphic designer extraordinaire, who made the entire layout for the record and who all of the tour ad mats, everything, like I'm always on his ass about like keeping this consistent. And to be fair, on the record layout, some of the time it's not consistent, but that's just because I liked the way the typeface capital letters looked. But for the most part, I'm on his ass. And I know that he's like so like grumbling under his breath far away, working on. And I literally tell him every time, I'm like, sorry, like you must know, like I wish I wasn't this way. You know what I mean?
Uh,
Like it's a burden, like you said. And so, but I can't help it. I don't know.
so why are we like this? Like, what is it? And this again, that's why I went back to like how it fits into our creative lives. Because like, what is it about? Because I think at some point it also becomes, it's not just a burden, but I actually think it becomes an obstacle where I I remember some script where I should have sent it in a month earlier than I did.
Yeah.
It was actually due. It was due. The guy wanted it. But I sat there because I kept fiddling with certain like wordings and I kept fiddling with stuff. Like
Yeah.
I didn't need to, I didn't want him to read it if I didn't have this stuff down. But
Yeah.
let me say this also. I wonder if, and I don't really know this, but I wonder if there was a certain fear of the person seeing it. And so I made the excuse of fiddling with it. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just throwing it out there because I want to see if that resonates with you at all.
I feel like there's a lot at play there, actually. Like, one thing I'm thinking is, like, I don't know, are you someone who really enjoys, like, the process of making something? Like, the work itself to make it, you know?
It depends on what it is. If I'm knowledgeable, like, I'm very bad when it comes to, like, engineering music.
Sure. Yeah, same. Yeah.
So that part's not...
That part gets on my
yeah.
nerves. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the actual writing part, I really enjoy. And it's
Yes.
honestly kind of sad when that stage ends. Like, when you call something finished and you move on, there's a little bit of sadness there. And so just the feeling of, it's bittersweet of, I imagine it's what a parent might feel when their kids like, no longer need them, but like, that like codependency, it's like it's over, like time is passing, we're moving on. And so, again, this extends, not to get too psychological, but to like how I might feel about like change in general. And so,
Julia. Yes.
I know. So like, part of it I think is that enjoying that part of, that like phase of tinkering and the labor is actually truly love. Like I think of some of my favorite writers and their attention to detail. I'm thinking of like Joni Mitchell and the way that her verses might be structured the same way, but there's one word in each verse that's different, or maybe one word at the end of the last line that's different in each verse. And like, that's what makes it. That's what makes it special, And like, I'm telling you, a preposition matters. Like, are we talking but? Are we talking and? Are we like, is it past tense, present tense? Like, these things are very important. And like, not that you have to worry too much about it, but it matters. So it's nice to think about, It's like, on the one hand, it feels great to just write a throwaway thing that feels nice to sing, and that's all it is. But on the other hand, it's nice to like actually pay attention to what's happening and like try to make it really meaningful. So I don't know. There's a lot there, but
Yeah. 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 I'm not saying that this stuff is not important, that we are ignoring that because it's just fear or something like that. But
yeah,
I wonder if this is it. I am also a person who is averse to change.
yeah.
And I wonder if when you are compelled to do something, whether it's creatively or whether it is just like a Wikipedia rabbit hole or something like that, when you are in that moment, you're in the flow and it feels timeless, right? And if you are someone who is averse to change, and this is probably a stretch, but if you are someone who is averse to change, living in a timeless bubble where it feels like nothing can change is very satisfying and very emotionally fulfilling.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it feels, for me, it also goes back to this feeling of like control. And I am kind of a control freak. And like, you feel completely in control of the speed of time passing. Like you said, you're kind of like, you know, not to.
Yeah, you were going to say God. I knew exactly where you were going to go.
You kind of are, because like you're just completely like empowered to like tune out the outside world. Like you're controlling the very like speed and experience of like, yeah, your existence and time passing. So yeah, I guess songwriting really does make gods of us all. That's pretty cool, man. I'd never thought about that before.
Well, okay.
Here we are.
I think I want to go with this then. When you were younger, were you taught that outside of a certain boundary, you had absolutely no control? And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. I think I learned about the Holocaust way too young or from an early age. I just learned that the world was maybe not friendly. And so I think that pushed me in a certain direction where I'm like, well, what do I have control over? And as I've learned in therapy, the answer is almost nothing. But
yeah,
I still try to find something.
Yeah, that's a really nice, that's like an interesting thing to think about. I mean, for me, I think there's one thing that sticks out in my mind. I don't know if it was necessarily the earliest time that I realized this, but it's one that definitely sticks out. When I was 15, our family had kind of like a tragedy happen where my cousin was murdered. And
oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was wild. It was 20 years ago next year. And so, I was a teenager and kind of, grappling in real time with the fact that, the world is like a very, very chaotic place, and you truly can't control what other people do. And so, but I remember finding it. I think that was the first time that I really felt like a therapeutic outlet in songwriting. Before that, I had been writing mainly like to make my friends laugh, like kind of trying to incorporate inside jokes and stuff. But writing about that event was extremely like helpful to kind of try to reclaim some of that control, or even just to make peace with the fact that I could never do that. Like the line, and I'm like proud of this line. I think about it a lot, but this lyric came out that was, "The world can hardly wait." And it's something I think about a lot, like just, Earth is going to keep on spinning. And, there's no patience for entropy. And so and like inertia, and so I found comfort in that when I was 16 or whatever. And long story short, we recorded a song for this new record that is about my kind of trying to remember my cousin, and 20 years later. And I like repeated that line in the song, "The world can hardly wait," as like a callback to our song "Down the River," which I wrote about her a long time ago. But we didn't end up putting that song on the record, so I think we're going to put it out next year. But anyway, all that to say, that was a pretty pivotal moment for me, kind of transitioning to singing directly about like, lack of control.
No, I think that actually really like hits the nail on the head, because it made, as you said that, it made me think, I'm like, all right, my grandmother died when I was 12. Like maybe right before that, my cousin had, I didn't know this until we went to the funeral, but like he had HIV, and so he died. And then we go to the funeral in New York. It's at the like gay and lesbian synagogue, and that's when I'm like, oh, okay, wait, you live in a little bubble in Pennsylvania, and you don't in the this is in the 90s. I'm like
Yeah.
maybe 10 years older than you, but like you're like, "Oh, okay." Oh, and that there's like a whole new world that like opens up to you and you learn about things and you learn about everything.
Yeah, real human life.
And I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I bet that stuff had more of a real impact on me than global events that happened like 60 years earlier or whatever."
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, it's just, yeah, a different like scope or like different level. You know, you see a dead person with your eyes for the first time, and it's like, you know, a real like concrete example of what death is, you know, but not even in a morbid way necessarily, just like an actual, I think that's actually really important for like kids to have uh like an exposure to loss, like pretty obviously you don't want to experience tragedy, but I'm grateful that I didn't have that experience like as a 20 something. I don't know how I would have been able to like process it unless you kind of grow through it earlier with your family.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like, I don't know. I think there's actually kids have more of a like ability to like understand things than we give them credit for, maybe. Or maybe it's just, yeah, important to kind of have those like milestones. And that like I think really does kind of set you on a path of understanding like our existence, not to be too, you know, zoomed out. But
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like, obviously, you don't want people to have to go through tragedy, but it does
yeah.
deepen your. Doesn't always. There's no necessity, but it
Right.
can deepen your emotional understanding of the world and of yourself and of other people.
Yeah, like there's possibly something to gain there. Um, and for me there was, so as you know, I wish my cousin was still alive, and at the same time, I'm grateful to have learned that lesson when I did.
This is not the point, and there's a reason I'm going to ask it, and I'm going somewhere. But did they ever catch the person who did it?
Yep. Yeah, he's serving life in prison without parole, and it was actually a crazy thing because they caught him, and then his sentencing was my first weekend of school. And like of university, like freshman orientation. And so I was like really emotional because my it was just me and my mom. The rest of my family was down like at the sentencing hearing. And so uh I was kind of on edge, already on edge because you're moving to college and it's nerve-wracking, you know, to like start this huge new chapter again as someone who's kind of afraid of change. And so I was already on edge. But then that's when I met Dave, who is, you know, my partner of 15 years and bandmate. And he completely put me at ease. And I didn't know it at the time, but that was like, you know, the most important relationship of my life and the, you know, best person to meet. And so I got really lucky cosmically. He picked me up kind of at a vulnerable time
Yeah.
and we became friends.
I asked that just because I was curious about what happens when there is this injustice in your life.
Mm,
And how do you react to it first? Where I thought in my head, I'm like, oh, what if the person was never caught? But also in this sense, but this person was caught.
hmm
So seemingly justice in whatever way that America deals out justice was served. But
Yeah.
how I guess I'm wondering how did you react? How is it still sitting in you?
I mean, that's honestly, oh, I wish these songs were out because that's kind of what they're about. I have these two songs. I've written three songs about her, and one of them is called Down the River, which is like an early, it's like on our first EP that we put out. But then the other two were like bonus tracks. Like one was for The Window and we didn't put it out, and then this one is for this new record that we didn't put out. And so my goal is to kind of package them, like put them together on a 7-inch and put it out next year for the 20th anniversary of her passing. But long story short, like both of them are kind of like contemplating this, like the way that grief like kind of transforms over time and how, yeah, the like kind of like we were talking about how your memories become calcified. Like when people pass at a young age, like they're that age forever. And
Mm,
so here I am, 13 years older than my cousin ever got to be. And like I'm kind of, yeah, like viewing this past like through the veil or like through this filter of the time that's passed in my life. And it feels so like blurry and, you know, loose. And some days it feels really clear and other, it's kind of just both of these songs were just a way for me to kind of reflect on how like grief and memory, like kind of mutate and interact over time. But there's no solid answer,
Yeah.
which is why it's, I think, really beautiful, actually.
Yeah. Do you think, and as a parenthetical, I'll say this, I don't think the act of creating something, whether it's a song or whatever, I don't think it has to be a certain thing, right? I don't think it has to be like, oh, it's emotional expression. Oh, it's just
so
having
many
fun,
things.
whatever, right? It's 100 things at once, or it's a specific thing in this. Like, I wrote this one song and it does this thing. I wrote this other song and it does this. Because you were saying before how like originally you wrote songs and you were just trying to make your friends laugh, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a fun thing. But do you think that is there a thing in general you are looking for or that you are trying to do? Are you trying to articulate an emotion? Are you trying to understand something, express something? Or is it what I said where it's just like, well, you got each one, or maybe even like each moment does something different?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I do kind of accept the cop out, which is like it does kind of feel different from song to song. But I think like if I had to pick some sort of like umbrella motivation or like goal at the end of the day, I think I'm truly trying to like be myself, just like understand who I am, and oftentimes that comes from the like freeing experience of figuring out how to write in that flow state where you're not thinking about who you are. And that's
Ooh.
when you really get to discover,
Ooh.
ironically enough, like who you are. And um which is why I joke that I'm like not a good fiction writer because I'm inherently like on a quest to like look inward or at least understand how I'm looking outward. And so um at the end of the day, yeah, just trying to like find out who I am. It's like a constant quest, never ending.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Okay. Do you think when you were younger, at least, let's go back to like about earlier in your life when you were starting to like make things, whatever they were, whether it's dog or whether it's early songwriting or something like that, right?
Yeah. Dog.
Were you self-aware at that time? Did you have any self-knowledge, I guess is really where I'm like aiming at, because what I'm trying to like think, because again, I do think you and I are very similar or resonating on the same wavelength.
We're vibing.
And I was always so stuck in my own head. And I don't mean in terms of like thinking about myself, but in thinking of like just like living in my imagination.
Yeah.
That life was just kind of like happening around me. And I wasn't. And so like the things I made were just like this outcroppings of my imagination as opposed to any kind of specific. I didn't have intentions. I didn't have like, I wanted to. Besides, like, I guess I want to be funny. I guess that was really the only intention, if anything. But I didn't even like, it wasn't a conscious thing. It was just, I was doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably a good thing, though. I mean, yeah, like a lack of self-consciousness. But I was on the same wavelength, too, in that way where, like, I definitely was not self-conscious about the stuff I was doing. Like, I think some of my earliest, like, performance impulses or, like, my creative like contributing to the group or something was like two things, and I look back and I'm like, what gave me, to borrow a Yiddish word, the like chutzpah to frickin' do that? Sorry, I'm grew up Catholic. That's the right use of the word, right? Yeah, that's like what gave me the frickin' cojones to like do this stuff. What I did was two things. When I was 4 years old, and again, this is a calcified memory, but from everything I've been told from my mom, I had this thing in preschool where every day I would go up to the front of the class without being asked. I just did this. And I would give the weather report, like for the day, And my teacher, Miss Brenda, she called me the weather woman. That was my nickname. I was just doing this at 4 years old. I thought people needed to know. And I've always been interested in meteorology. But regardless, I clearly wanted to communicate. I was not self-conscious about it. And here I was telling everyone the weather. The second thing was in 8th grade, 7th grade maybe. No, I must have been younger. Because I remember the 8th graders in our grade school there was like a closed circuit television system in our grade school. And they did like a little news report every so often, maybe like once a week. Like about school news, not like
They weren't
fucking
reporting on the
like
global financial
9/11 or
system.
something. Yeah. No, it was, very low stakes, but I got it in my head. I must have been in 5th grade because I remember I was not like allowed, they didn't let younger kids on the news, but I had this idea that it'd be really cool to do a definition of the day. So I would just pick a word from the dictionary and get up there and say the word and tell people what it meant. And that was it. That was like my little segment on the news. And I talked my way into it. They let me do it as like a younger child. And I was like the only 5th grader ever on the news, or whatever. But and I was not self-conscious about it. No one made fun of me to my classmates' credit. Like I didn't get bullied for that or anything. It was just like, but something that I just like felt compelled to do. I don't know. I just was curious about like words and I don't know. But yeah, so I think luckily, like no one ever told me that was wrong to like feel confident in wanting to like share with people. And so I feel like that kind of, I've always had that sort of impulse and it like has now carried through to like getting up on stage every night and not feeling just completely like humiliated to be sharing like your art with a room full of people. So yeah, it goes back kind of far.
Yeah, that's interesting because at first you said, I had a curiosity about words. I think that's, if not verbatim, very close to what you said.
Yeah.
But then the second thing was about sharing with people. And that's the thing that piqued my interest because it really feels more like a desire for connection and connection through something that you are curious about as opposed to just anything.
Yeah. And like, wanting people to know what I thought was interesting, kind of like curating that a little bit. And yeah, just like not being afraid to get on the freaking news. Not that there were that many people watching, but like it was fun, So I'm grateful that no one was like, shut up, nerd, like I luckily came away pretty unscathed as far as the bullying went.
Well, how would you have reacted? Because I also had interests that were maybe a little strange. I mean, whatever, indie rock or something like that in like junior high. And I didn't really get bullied. There were every once in a while there would be some asshole, but like I would react defiantly. So if someone came at me, it wasn't like I would like shirk away. I would be like, but I don't know where that came from either. Because I was a small kid, so why shouldn't I have like shrunk?
That's like a good like trait to have, I was the same way, very small child, and the worst I ever got bullied was like I would wear hats sometimes, kind of like the hat that you're wearing, like with the brim, And I don't remember, not in school so much because we weren't allowed, but like boys especially would sometimes just like flip them off your head, just like stick their hand under there and like flip them. That would always piss me off, but it's like, whatever, same as you. I don't know. God, I wonder how kids nowadays are with that. Because I think back and I'm so grateful that we didn't have phones or like a fucking like camera that you can do a selfie all the time to like see what you look like.
Oh my God. Like I would be I'm not
mentally unwell.
Yes, I'm not great, but I'm definitely, have most of it together. I don't think I would have gotten to this point if that's what I had to deal with.
Same. I fear for children now. But yeah, things were somehow a little bit simpler back then as far as, being able to move through the world and not feel just completely exposed. And I'm sure a big part of it was like I grew up in a pretty comfortable house. Like I didn't really have fears for like food insecurity or like, there wasn't real abuse going on at all. So like I was chilling and thinking about fucking definitions, and weather. So yeah, it was pretty stable.
Yeah. I think that, so many people connect trauma with creativity. I remember something Patton Oswalt said a long time ago, which was, I think he maybe went a little too far in one direction, in the other direction, but he was saying that like, no, he's just good at this thing. He's worked hard for a long time at stand-up and he's become good at it. And it's not because he's like running from some traumatic past that has made him the way he is. Because often I think about this a lot, that stability is the thing that allows you in the first place to have the space to make things.
Yeah, that's so true. And to like get in touch with yourself and like what you like and like develop your taste. And yeah, I totally agree. I think it's just a matter of, yeah, having the time and space to, yeah, get to know who you are and just feel comfortable with like the act of sharing, like you said. And sometimes it takes longer to do that, but it doesn't have to come from trauma. Absolutely not.
No.
I think you're onto something.
I mean, my little theory is that you still have to be like, if you're going to make something interesting, you still have to be peeled apart from the mass of people, because otherwise, I don't know why you're compelled to make something necessarily, but even if you are, I don't know how interesting it is.
Yeah.
And,
yeah,
and
you
this
got
is
to
my
feel
definition.
something like, yeah, on like an individual level to bring to everyone else. Yeah. I dig that. I like that.
Like, did you have a thing that pulled you apart, you think, or that made you stand outside in order to be able to view the world from a step apart from other people?
Definitely. I mean, probably a few things. I like just, and these are just like coincident like factors of my upbringing, but like I was the oldest child. And so I was kind of not like apart from my siblings because we're all pretty close in age, but I had that sort of independent, like, um, tendency. I like was very comfortable being alone and like kind of craved that. I don't know if it's because I'm the oldest or what, but I was happy about that. And then uh, I was like very much a tomboy growing up, and like almost all of my friends were boys. And so I think I just felt kind of like I could tell, especially then going, in the summer, I would hang out with only my guy friends, like my neighbors. And then I would go back to school and suddenly be like surrounded by some of my girlfriends and like, mixed like co-ed environment. And so I could feel these like different parts of myself like coexisting. But then also like when I was in high school, I was the only person in my friend group who like played an instrument. And so that was really, like not isolating in a bad way. Like it was actually kind of nice because my friends were really supportive and like they loved to listen to me play, and like I would perform songs for them and they would kind of give me a thumbs up. It felt great. And at the same time, I would on the weekends not always go hang out with them. Sometimes I would like stay home and just work on music, work, quote unquote. I would just, play Sufjan Stevens covers in the bathroom and cry alone, and so I was happy to do that.
Cry alone because of the content of the music, because it was emotionally affecting you, or for some other reason?
The content of the music. Oh my God. Have you listened to him?
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah. I mean, it's like the most raw emotional music on the earth. So anyway, yeah, no, I wasn't crying about my life. I was pretty happy and like I said, pretty stable. So it was nice to have that outlet that was kind of just for me. I like didn't really have anyone to play with. Would have been cool. Don't get me wrong. Like Dave had the opposite experience where he was in bands and stuff in high school. And like when I got to meet him, I was really kind of jealous of that because it just seemed like so much fun. Not that I didn't have fun, but it's just different, pasts and ways to do it. But yeah, I was a little bit on my own, but not in a sad way.
No. But like, okay, two questions. One, was your identity, I make music, I play guitar? Was that the primary kind of like, this is who I am when I'm in the world?
Yeah. In high school, for sure. That became my thing. That was my superlative in the yearbook. And,
most guitar?
It was future Grammy winner. I know. So I'm still working on that. But
do you want to? Hold on.
No. I don't fucking care. No. And I don't. Actually, I really don't, because this is a podcast, so no one can see me, but like, right? Or maybe they can see me. I don't know. But
no. I don't publish the video.
Well, great. If for anyone listening at home, I not only do I like not wear makeup, I like don't know how to. I don't know how to apply it. So like if you're gonna plop me down on the Grammys red carpet, I'm just gonna have to wear makeup and I'm gonna look like an alien and I'm gonna feel weird. So no. You
can hire a stylist at that point and someone to do.
I don't want to do all that.
HMU?
I don't want to. trust me, they had to kind of really talk me into doing hair and makeup for this music video that we did for Penny in the Lake. And I am really grateful. Laura did an awesome job. I just don't, so long story short, no, I don't have big aspirations to win a Grammy, but that was my identity in high school, and people were really nice about it. So it wasn't like a lonely rocker girl thing. It was like very like I was kind of popular in high school for that reason. Like people thought it was cool that I was playing guitar alone.
Okay, I have 3 questions. When we go back to the playing Sufjan Stevens and crying part, because I wanted to know, I asked that because I was wondering if you were emotionally open when you were younger and willing to talk about your emotions and talk about other people's emotions. Because to me, that seems like something like that, to allow that to affect you. Like you would have to, like they would have to be close to the surface as opposed to like something you push down or buried.
That's so true. Yeah, I guess I never put that together, but that was a part of my upbringing that I'm proud of. I think, again, thinking about my parents' parenting, like, which I struggle to figure out exactly. I don't know if I should ask my mom, like, did they have a philosophy going in? Like, did they have a plan? I don't know. But they did a really good job of raising empathetic people. Like, growing up, I will never forget this. This is maybe TMI, but like my brother and I were roughhousing. He was like my next youngest sibling, so we were very close growing up. And I will never forget this. I like kicked him in the balls.
Ugh.
You know? I know. And I didn't know, truly didn't know how much that would hurt him. And he was in so much pain. And when the pain kind of wore off, he very earnestly and like to his credit, very even keeled, like calmly told me like, that is the most painful thing you can do to a boy. Like, do not, please never do that again. Even if we're fighting, you can hit me anywhere else. Just like, don't do that. And I legitimately was like, okay, like I really appreciated knowing that. And I didn't know. And I felt really bad, And so little things like that as you're growing up, you kind of like, I clocked that, yeah, the empathy was like kicking in. And like, that's good, for a kid to experience that and not feel like defensive or whatever, and like bummed that you made a mistake. It's more so just like, I appreciate the communication. So regardless, yes, I think I forget the actual question you asked me, but yeah, I feel like I did have a good open sense of emotions and receiving emotional communication.
And your parents are like this, or is this something that developed in spite of their
They're
emotional...
like that. My mom especially is very feeling oriented, and my dad is a psychiatrist, and so he well, psychiatry isn't the same as therapy. It's not the same as psychology. I kind of don't have... It's still openness in talking about how mental health, and so that was never a taboo in our family, like talking about how you feel, or like, yeah, how your body's feeling. So, yeah, it was a good foundation, I guess.
Yeah. You still have to like be able to talk to someone about, whatever medication they're taking, what is it affecting in you, and how are you, like, how is that working, and is it not working?
It's not the end all be all psychiatry, but it's part of a solution, perhaps. Can't fully vouch for psychiatry, but respect.
My wife's psychiatrist says it's like 30%, 40%, something like that. 30%, I think.
That's a good way to look at it. Growing up, I kind of thought it was the whole piece of the puzzle. Like I thought it was the whole pie. And I realize now that that is not the case. So I've learned more as an adult.
I wrote down 2 other things here.
Incredible.
Okay, you said you were tomboy.
Yeah.
You don't like wearing makeup.
Yeah.
I am curious because you are a teenager in the aughts, right?
Yes.
Still not a very good understanding of gender or anything that's even approaching that in our culture. I mean, when do we slightly get an idea of like what a spectrum is? Is like maybe the late teens at best, as like a widespread idea, as something that people like as affecting. And I'm curious because you grew up in this era before that, and in an era where there was I would say, I mean, maybe not as strict as in the 90s when I was in high school, but like fairly strict gender norms.
Yeah.
I am curious how that affected you, because you said, "Hey, I'm popular. People didn't bother me necessarily. A couple outside of a couple instances." I'm curious if this even came into your mind, because it seems like at the very, like, I think of like, oh, you're growing up in the South, or I don't know, Louisville, if how exactly
Yeah,
Southern it is, but you know what I mean.
totally. Yeah, I mean, there are a couple memories that pop out to me, and I'm grateful that this podcast is kind of memory focused because yeah, it's fun. I feel like, wow, I'm really going to some places that I've never really gone before. But uh like in high school it wasn't as big of a thing because I went to an all-girls school, and so um if no one really wore makeup to school. And like, or if they did, it just wasn't for like, you know, trying to get a guy, obviously. It was just for your own fun or expression. And so that was a super like equal environment. Like no one really cared, which was awesome. I had a good experience for that reason. But in grade school, there were two memories that pop out, which was like one time I remember in grade school, the boys would all play like football during recess, like on the blacktop. So it wasn't like, I think it was probably two-hand touch or something. And I was really into football growing up, and I still am. And I was the only girl that would like join the game. And I remember one time the game got a little rough, and while everyone else went back in after recess, the teachers like made the football kids like stay outside to get lectured and like get a talking to about how we needed to be a little less rough for the game. And I remember standing there with like a straight face, like, nodding and feeling really like, one of the guys, like, yeah, you're right. Like, we gotta chill out. And I look back now and I'm like, oh my God, like these teachers probably looked at me and they were like, this little girl is just, confused or whatever. But no one like, you know, told me that was the wrong thing to do. So I just felt really empowered to like keep, playing football with the boys. And I still would if that was happening outside. So, yeah, I'm grateful for like the kind of resounding lack of gender dysphoria that I experienced. Like, I don't know. Back then, it wasn't even like something that crossed my mind. Like, yeah, like, am I really a girl because I'm doing it? It was just like, a
Yeah.
normal part of being a kid, I think. But yeah, I don't know. Like, because yeah, I have so much love and affection for the trans community. I like have never really had that experience. I just think like everyone, like when I was a kid, I never thought it was weird to, yeah, just want to like be yourself and just
Sure.
like explore, yeah, do
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
you want.
I think what I'm interested in mostly though is the fact that it seems like there was no one outside that was telling you to be a certain way. And I think that's what's exciting to me is
Yeah.
that you really did get to grow up in a kind of a bubble, whether it was about creativity, gender expression, whatever it was, you were just kind of left alone to be who you are. And I think that's really cool.
I feel kind of lucky looking back, I guess, because it wasn't like some liberal like utopia or whatever. Like in Louisville's kind of a complicated city, and like, the environment I grew up in was definitely not full of liberals. I don't know, like but yeah, it was I don't know, very like you said, kind of open, shockingly. But anyway, yeah, I think it's really true that somehow growing up in Kentucky in the early aughts, I managed to come out of that pretty unscathed and unjudged. And the other thing I should say is maybe people were saying things and judging me and I just didn't notice. Or like,
Wow.
you know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
yes, that's the thing. Were you in your own kind of, I don't have a good noun for this, thing, let's just say. Were you
Yeah.
enough in your own thing that maybe people were, because I think back a lot about it. I'm like, hey, maybe, I had like, I think there's 2 or 3 instances of like light bullying my entire high school career.
yeah.
But were people saying shit about me and I just was so like unaware of what was going on just in my world, hanging out with my friends and doing my thing, that it just never got to me.
Probably. And that's why
Hey,
like
hey,
not for you.
probably.
I mean for me, like for all of us. Like again, that's I think what's so kind of magical about, not to be like, grandpa on the porch being like, when I was a kid, we didn't have cell phones, like, but nowadays it's easy to see in black and white in that edited text message, like, a screenshot of someone talking about you behind your back. Like that shit's, ugh, it's everywhere. And like back then, yeah, it just wasn't. If you didn't hear someone talking shit about you behind your back, it never happened. So I'm grateful I didn't hear it if it was happening. So here I am, you know, confident as ever.
Okay, here's the last thing. This is what I have written down.
Okay.
I'm curious about, and there's something here, and I can't grasp it exactly, but I think there is. My gut says there's something about you going from someone who didn't make music to someone who did make, who picked up a guitar.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what that phase shift was like for you. Why did you do it in the first place? Really is what I'm curious about.
Well, I had experience with music before that, like with playing music before that, because I grew up taking piano lessons from when I was 5. This is like such a classic, like middle America upbringing, I feel like. But like my parents, my mom again is a musical person, and so they were pretty insistent on all 4 of us doing piano lessons. And so
all 4.
Yeah, there's 4 of us.
When you say
so.
Catholic, you like that, like Catholic.
I know. And it's like boom, 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 like all 2 years apart. Like, God, we were planned to a T. But yeah, but we did the piano lessons, and it was honestly really beneficial for me because like I never learned how to read sheet music. But the way that we learned was all like by ear, is called the Suzuki method. And so I didn't realize it at the time, but I was literally like training my ear and developing like enjoyment of hearing music. And so, but of course I was a little jerk, as kids are, and like did not appreciate the practice and like the weekly check-ins, and so
I read in an interview with you, used the phrase, and I wrote it down because I liked it so much, that you were a quote petulant child.
Oh my God. Yes, I was. I was such a little brat about like practicing. I hated being told to like, make time to sit down and prepare for the next piano lesson, like which is looking back such a missed opportunity, because I now look at friends who can just do anything on the piano, and I'm like, that could have been me. But,
I'm sitting here, I know exactly. And I'm like, wait, how do you do a B minor 7? What do
dude, I will never. I truly believe that piano is like learning a language. It's like you can do it as an adult, but like it's going to be so much harder and take so much longer.
Julia,
so
I like, because of my voice, I tend to capo 3 or capo 5.
Very
and then
good.
When I'm trying to play a keyboard something with it, it takes me 4 fucking ever to figure out how to even deal with that.
Oh,
and then
I'm
figure
impressed
out the
that you even
chords.
try. I just never, try, because I just am hopeless at keys. But that's just, yeah, that's like truly like speaking another language to me. Anyway, I gave that up, but and that was the deal with my parents, was like, when you're 13, when you start high school, you can like stop if you want. And they were bummed, but that was what I chose to do. But I loved music, and so my mom had a guitar laying around, and so I just picked it up and taught myself how to play that in a way that, again, is also not very like virtuosic or like, theory based at all, but can hear things and figure out how to, make something interesting out of a little. Make a lot out of a little. So yeah, there was a runway there. It wasn't just me lifting off on my own,
Yeah. But what was that moment when you're like, okay, so you hated, it wasn't that you hated piano, I don't think. You hated someone telling you what to do.
I hated the discipline, the routine. I hated the check-in. I don't know why I hated it, because now I look forward to band practice every week, and I think, I didn't like someone controlling my schedule.
Yeah.
So
it goes back to control.
Exactly.
I think all of this stuff is connected. This is why I want to get to this at the end, because I'm like, I think there's something there about, because I was the same way. I wanted to watch Alf. That was my thing. My piano lessons were Monday nights. And I wanted to watch Alf, which was on Monday nights at the time, I think. And so eventually I wore my parents down, and they stopped making me take piano lessons.
Yeah. Totally.
But it was also like, I hated like having to, I love fucking around on the piano now, but I hated having someone tell me I have to play this minuet or whatever.
So did it take you a while to pick up the guitar or your next instrument from there? Or did you go right into it?
No, I didn't. So that was what I was like. I probably was like 10. I didn't start playing guitar until I was 15.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a gap.
14, something like that. Yeah, it wasn't like I was compelled to. I actually don't know what it was in me. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm not going to sit here and
I'm just curious.
Think about it. But I am curious, like, you had something in you, and I'm wondering what that thing was. Was it expression? Was it just, I enjoy the feeling of this? Like, what was the thing where originally, like, you're like, you stopped the lessons, but you're like, well, there's still something there that I want to deal with or do or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever verb you want to use.
I think it was, I don't think I realized this at the time, but I do think I got to figure out a different way to say this because the sentence in my mind sounds pretentious, but like the desire, the like urge, like we said earlier, to compose, to like write. I remember immediately upon learning the first 4 chords that I learned on guitar, I was looking back, 13 years old, should not have been a counselor at Vacation Bible School. I was full on child, but here I was, the oldest child of the bunch, basically babysitting these kids at Vacation Bible School and learned 4 chords. What am I going to do? Bring in a guitar and like write these little ditties about Bible stories to keep these kids entertained. And like, I don't remember any of these, but like, that was my instinct right away. It was to like kind of write songs and not necessarily like to feel anything. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was like me, I enjoyed performing or if it was just like entertaining myself and others, at the same time. But yeah, that was, and then I mentioned earlier, but like, yeah, writing songs like to make my friends laugh was a big part of it. Like kind of, it just like added this extra layer of excitement to our inside jokes when they were like in song form. So that was a big thing. And then when I started kind of feeling more confident, I was able to like not think about how I'm feeling, but like actually feel things and then put that into songs and not just, write like kind of trivial stuff. So, I think, for me, that was it, I guess, was wanting to like write on an instrument.
Yeah, it's evolutionary in the sense that it started out as something and then as one thing, whatever you said, entertainment or just wanting to write or something like that. That then as you understand your emotions better, then you're able to channel that through this thing that had, or is still fun, is still entertainment, etc. But also now has this added facet.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, it was just a new way to, like a way to grow up, kind of. I didn't think of it as that at the time, but yeah, a way to like like I said earlier, just like understand myself better. And yeah, guitar was kind of a way for me to get there. It definitely wasn't an end in itself. I've never been able, like someone asked me the other day, like, are you ever going to make like an instrumental album? And I'm like, bro, no, like I'm not that good at guitar. Like, no. And for me, my main instrument is my voice. Like I would rather make an a cappella, like choral record before I would make, just guitar. And so, but it did help me gain confidence in like my voice. Because you're not going to be confident just singing at your friends, just voice only. That's pretty cringy. So, I'm not like Bobby McFerrin over here. He's not cringy. He's a genius. But like, as a teen, having that guitar was a very like nice, safe, like freeing way to start, like writing songs about my life. And again, I kind of never stopped, so I'm grateful for that.
Seems like a very nice place to end. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. This was such a fun, like, excavation. I feel like we've really, like, we've mined some things. Yes. And I'm grateful to have gotten to know you a little bit. This is really fun.
This was an absolute delight. The highlight of my day. Thank you.
Oh, cool. Same.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, oh, 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 bye.